Welcome to Portside Conversations, your portside seat to authentic voices and bold ideas. This is the official podcast of BVI Ports Authority, and today we have Romeo Titley with us, and our focus is on the marine sector for the BVI Ports Authority. Mr. Titley, Romeo, welcome to Portside Conversations. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Well, we are happy to have you today because the marine services and the industry on a whole, it's a bit of a mystery to some people, and we want to have a more informed discussion, a sharing session on really how you got involved, what role you play, how critical it is to the port, and also to encourage other Virgin Islanders to take interest, because the business and the service has to continue, right? So for many people, a career is measured in years, but for you, it has been a journey. I think you shared with me 24 years you've been here with the BVI Port.
Yeah, this year would be 24 years.
Fantastic. That is commendable. So I want you to tell us a little bit about yourself and how you actually got started in the marine industry.
Well, like I said, this year would be 24 years in the BVI Ports Authority. My journey into the marine industry started when I was about 5, as far as I can recall. My dad had the only ferry service between West End and Jos Van Dyke at the time. So I was introduced at a very early age, doing everything from being crew, being mechanic, and then evidently being a skipper on board as well. So my dad had me and my brothers in the industry from a very young age. We've grown and we've propelled ourselves into the broader spectrum of the industry. Working at the BVI Ports Authority at West End and seeing how the dynamic work in terms of dock master, security. Well, it didn't have no security at the time, but the dock master was the security at the time. There was a dual role being played at the time, and there was the custodians. So there was a small employment at the time at West End, just on the BVI PA side. Mm-hmm. So I was always intrigued with how that would work, and I would always question my dad about how that would work. And then years later, believe it or not, Mr. Dave Smith approached me and said, we could do with a young man like you in the marine side. And that actually gives me the encouragement to actually came at the BVI Ports Authority. And in 2022, of November 2022, yes, is when I enrolled with the BVI Ports Authority.
So that's your introduction, and that's how you got here 24 years ago.
24 years ago.
What would you say is the biggest difference in general terms when you got in to now? Because I heard you say that persons had to play dual role at West End, dockmaster and security.
Yeah. So we all know 9/11 leaves a mark on us all. We will never forget it. So it changed the way how the maritime industry rules out. So no one could hold a dual role in terms of security. It had to be a security at the terminals after that point. So seeing that now and how that impacted the BVI Port Authority in terms of growth, security, it played a tremendous role in how we deal with passengers today. We look out for the safety of the passengers, both on the marine side and both on the security side. So we, navigate ships to and from our shores, and we ensure that the passengers have a safe embarkment and a safe disembarkment. So that would be the difference in terms of then to now, in terms of the addition of that role.
That is very important because the risks, if anything should happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, what would be some of the most memorable moments you would have had during your career?
one most memorable moment was this was back in, I think it was 2009. I think it was 2009. We had a cruise ship, Carnival, had came to our port, and I was our diver at the time. And they had came tangled with one of our fenders and bust it off.
Oh boy.
And it went overboard. So there was a query as to how it happened. And the DMD at the time wanted some proof. So he tasked myself along with the lead diver at the time to retrieve the fender and look for any evidence that we can find. And given the fact that it was a free moment to do something that we love doing, diving and having that enjoyment in investigating, and it was a fun moment. And that for me was a very long time, and still to this day, one of my highlights.
Yeah, because you got to do something you love doing.
I love diving.
How deep was the water?
The water at that time, max depth was about 32, between 32 and 35 feet.
Okay, that's not bad. That's that's how many of me? Dividing. Romeo, you talked about the ships arriving and all of that. Explain the role of the marine services when it comes to the ships coming into our waters and why it is so important.
Well, the role of the Marine Department for the BVIP is to safely navigate ships to and from our ports. So how we accomplish this? There's navigational aids at all of our designated ports, and those navigational aids are maintained by the Marine Department. We ensure that they are in position as they are charted on the map, and we ensure that their beacons are constantly working when they must be. So the beacons are operated once dusk to dawn, so you might not see the beacon. You might not see the navigational aid, but you will see the beacon once night falls. And all mariners know how to navigate the beacons. Okay. So that's primarily what the BVI Ports Authority Marine Department is responsible for. Once the vessels are navigating through our harbors, we will then communicate via VHF and designate berthing space for these vessels, such as cargo vessels, ferry vessels, or cruise ships navigate a bit differently.
Right.
They navigate by pilot. So there will be no communication between the ship and the shoreside personnel. It's all done by pilot. If anyone on board needs to communicate with anyone on the shore, the pilot would then make that communication.
Okay. But I'm going to take it a step wider, I think, because I know with reference to BVIPA, yes, it's cruise, ferry, and the cargo ships. Now, how about the other stakeholders in the marine space, like the yachts?
So the charter yachts are operated by a company. They're operated by an umbrella. The private vessels or private yachts, they operate independently. So the charter vessels would operate from their marina and take excursions around the BVI. The private side, they will then operate between Rotown, Virgin Gorda, Just Van Dyke, and vice versa around the BVI. Most typically, we don't have a high volume of charter vessels in terms of the yachting at our terminals. We do have a high volume of private vessels at the terminals. So we actually issue pamphlets educating those who may not be familiar with the BVI Ports Authority's regulation as it regards to harbor. So we educate them upon their approach to our harbor as well.
Okay. Sounds good. What are some of the guidelines that you can share that you would tell these persons when they're coming to our ports?
So there's every mariner knows about rules of the road. So every harbor has a unique rule of the road. So, for example, no speeding in the harbor, knowing harbor limits, knowing draft, knowing board draft, knowing your vessel, what is your intent from the terminal so that the terminal can accommodate your intent.
Right.
So these are the things that we would roll out in the pamphlet that we issue annually.
Okay. Okay. If I had to ask you again, just looking at the then and now scenario, right? What were there any modernization changes that you would have experienced then and now when it comes to your the services that the marine sector offers?
Yes. Then we didn't have what we call the media. So we have the media now where anyone can actually log on to the port website and learn about the ports prior to even arriving at the ports. So I think that's a great initiative and a positive direction, educating all mariners about the Port Authority even before you enter the port. So I welcome the idea, I welcome the initiative. I am not sure how we can make a correlation, but we know customs and immigration, they have their own platform as well too, but we all play a significant role when it comes to our ferry terminals in terms of clearing international vessels inbound and outbound.
Right. And we have a really busy activity coming up in a few weeks, Christmas in July. What kind of role do we play when it comes to that activity and all those boats coming over from Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands?
Yes. They have their event annually in Savannah Bay, Virgin Gorda. We do know we will have an overwhelming amount of vessels coming in to the BVI. We know our key terminals would be Rotown Ferry Terminal, Virgin Gorda, St. Thomas Bay Ferry Terminal, and just Van Dyke, the whole ferry terminal. Because not only do they come for the Christmas in July, they came for our beautiful waters
Of course.
and beaches.
Of course.
So they will come days in advance and try to enjoy that wonderful BVI experience. So the event, I think, is about two or 3
2 days, yeah.
But they will come for a week. Some of them come for a week and they enjoy the BVI and we
Right.
welcome them. How do we ensure their safe arrival and safe departure? Is once again by ensuring all of our navigational aids are in working condition, make sure they are in position to safely navigate them to and from our ports.
Okay. What would you say when we talk about safety and stewardship and, again, the service, what would you say are some of your biggest challenges?
Some of the biggest challenges we have is compliance. Compliance is one of the biggest challenges we have, ensuring that, because our primary goal is the passengers or anyone traversing on a schedule or privately. The passengers are our primary goal. So if your vessel is compliant, it means then you're seaworthy and safe to transport passengers to and from. The minute that you're expired, your certifications are expired and you're not up to date, then you're not in compliance. And the BVIPA will then have to, make their ruling and whether or not service might be interrupted due to compliance and bringing such vessels that have expired certification back to operating dates.
So the people behind the operations, and we know that it's not a 9 to 5 position, right? So when it comes to that, we know it's demanding, yes, and it's around the clock. how do you balance, and what motivates you to accommodate that type of operations round the clock?
Well, the motivation comes naturally. The BVIPA provides services, we have business. So we provide services. We have a set schedule for stakeholders and their operation. Anything outside those operations are considered overtime or unscheduled operation, which in advance request to operate outside those scheduled operations.
Okay.
The authority will then review the request, and then we will make our approval accordingly, and then we will facilitate their request accordingly.
So you know in advance.
Yes.
It's not like it just pops up and gotta go.
No, if you want to pop up, you might need a closed facility, but we don't want that.
I got you.
So we would like everyone to be proactive. Know your schedules, know your requests, because sometimes some of these stakeholders do receive requests to operate based on requests from anyone. So these ferries can operate as unscheduled vessels to facilitate certain requests.
What type of things would youngsters need to do to be a part of the marine industry, or to say come on board with BVIP's marine section?
All the awareness. All the awareness. For the most part, anybody who has an interest in anything, it's a pattern from their environment. So if they're in that environment that involves the marine industry, it should then be the responsibility of the parent or guardian who acknowledges an interest that the individual may have. There are programs that you can enroll any individual young that they can be aware of. For me, as much as I was a boater, my dad enrolled me in CATS. Yeah, and it was a helpful tool. The marine industry does not only mean vessels. It could be marine biology as well. So it's above and below, and there is where my diving was introduced through CATS. Their program had sailing, diving, swimming, and a couple of others that we might not know about that they have in their program, and they teach to the young individuals who have an interest in just the marine industry, or who just have a love for the water.
Right.
So I would encourage all the awareness and identify all the awareness. That way, the young generation will have a tool to sharpen as they go.
Sounds good to me. So what opportunities excite you most about the future of the maritime industry?
I would say ease of traffic flow. Ease of traffic flow. For many years and the BVIPA has always maintained its due diligence in trying to ensure passenger efficiency. So I would love to see passenger efficiency continue to grow. We are doing a wonderful job at it, and I would like to see that continue and grow into passenger efficiency. We know we are right now in a world of technology, and whatever tool we can use to make that happen.
Sounds good. So going back a little bit, Romeo, how often do you guys maintain the navigational equipment?
Our navigational equipment are maintained annually. They're maintained annually, and they're revised every 6 months. So when we say maintain annually, the navigational aid itself would be removed from the water. It would be repainted, and then it would be redeployed. So That annual service would include the navigational aid and all the ground tackle included to keep it in its position.
Wow.
What we do 6 months is we revisit that navigational aid and maintain the ground tackle. Because if we don't do that, we run the risk of losing the navigational aid. The chain could get severed and the navigational aid could float away. We've had that happen before, and that was just due to weather. So is why we now make sure
You do those checks.
we do those checks
Okay.
annually for the navigational aid and every 6 months for the ground tackle.
Okay. What legacy would you like to leave behind after your years of service at BVI PA?
That's a good question. My legacy would be I would love to leave for the next generation coming in to be just as passionate as I am and ensure that everyone operating at the BVI know their role. It is very important that everyone knows their role at the BVI where specifically at the ferry terminals, where we play that key role in terms of navigating vessels to and from our shore. We don't want persons to look back and say, well, I had never done a good job in ensuring vessel and the marine was not educated under my term
Right.
at the BVI. I love to share a vast knowledge of education to anyone and those who use our facility. I'm always willing to share and educate if I know. And again, too, we have persons who operate in these vessels longer than I have been around, so I learn from them as well. So we share information and we share experience and we have that dialogue back and forth. Because once again, the passenger is our primary for even embarking in the service.
Right.
The experience the passenger have at the port, embarking and disembarking at the port, is something that when a passenger say their experience at the BVI terminals, it makes you feel good.
Yes, it's a win-win, and it makes us look good, and it makes the BVI also look good, and they would return.
Definitely.
Right? Even for those that live here, they would be proud to know that we really take good care and provide that level of service when they come by boat.
Of course. Of course.
So in one sentence, how would you describe the importance of the marine services to the success of the BVI Ports Authority?
One sentence, I would say a phrase, highly important.
Highly important.
Highly important. If the Marine Department does not execute its role, no ships can come to the port. So you will not have your cargo vessels, you will not have the 99% of all consumable goods.
No food.
Come through the port. So you wouldn't have any food. All our cruise ships would not be able to come.
Economy fail.
There you go. So it is very important for the Marine Department to maintain and execute its role. Otherwise, like you said, the BVI economy, and the slogan is the BVI ports keep the BVI moving.
We keep the BVI moving.
So
yes.
Without that, we cannot navigate ships to and from our ports.
I think that's an excellent point for us to close on, and it drives things home so persons could understand. They're hearing about the marine services. They understand now the critical role it plays with the BVI Ports Authority, and not only that, in the Virgin Islands on a whole. So Romeo, what final words would you want to share when it comes to encouraging persons or just educating people on vessels moving safely and efficiently through our waters?
So again, our vessels move because of passengers. We move for our service. So we will encourage passengers to be proactive, and I'm saying this because we've all experienced it. Persons would come to the ferry terminal and documents are not in order, or they forget something and they're asking for leniency from the terminal and the ferry operators to wait. So when this happens now, the vessel falls behind schedule, and we all know what happens when we fall behind schedule.
Yes.
We don't actually go through our checklist properly, and we hastily do things, and sometimes we may forget a vital step and become a critical role for the journey. So passengers being proactive, all documents in order, get to the terminal a half an hour before your scheduled departure, or more if you can, and that way we can actually have the vessel load in an efficient manner so that we could have a timely departure.
Gotcha. So that's for the ferries. What about the other vessels that are coming in? Make sure they're documented in order before they come to clear.
Well, there are platforms that the private industry use that they must comply. On the cargo side, that's customary. They approach by a scheduled arrival time. Their cargo manifest would be already in order and already done forward to the relevant agencies. So it's just for the vessel to arrive. We know our cruise ship arrive by call. Their schedules are planned months, sometimes years in advance. So we know about those. What we're having the issue with is our ferry.
Okay.
Or ferry operation. We're just asking for the support of the public to be proactive when they're traveling, so that the vessels could make their efficient departure. So, and it gets you where you need to go on time.
On time as well. Agreed. I definitely agree with that. Again, Romeo, I want to thank you for stopping by and speaking with us here on Portside Conversations. For me, I think your dedication, your leadership, which I've seen just from interacting with you in the last few months as well, and your years of service that I just learned about today, 24 years, that speaks volumes, and your commitment to BVI Ports Authority and the marine services that you offer. So thank you again for being here with us on Portside Conversations. And until the next time, I'm your host, Alicia Green, signing